Hello students, good morning. So in the last class we focused regarding this heavy metal toxicity or kidney toxicity which was caused by the heavy metals, that is cadmium and as well as arsenic. So now let us move on to the next metal ion, that is heavy metal, that is lead. Lead is also a toxic metal. It is considered as a toxic metal which usually exist by binding to two or more other compounds. So it is found throughout the environment, and this is mainly present in the environment because of the primarily the activities, various human activities which was done, which was primarily because of the various human activities. So these compounds, that is lead compounds, that is bound to two or more other compounds. It is usually existing as a by binding to two or more other compounds, right? So these compounds were found commonly in the gasoline, as well as in case of batteries, pipes, and even in case of ammunition. You can observe. So in addition to this, blood compounds can also be used frequently as a pigments in the paints and ceramic glazes, right? Ceramic glazes also you might have observed. Lead is the most common frequent metal ion, which metal heavy metal which is present in the particular paints, right? When leaded gasoline, which was used as a primary source of the fuel for the automobiles, most of the automobiles, when when you are going to use this particular leaded gasoline, so the environment become contaminated heavily with this particular lead, the large quantities of the lead. In addition to this, you can also make out the paint in many homes, they are going to use lead based, right? So it also contains up to 40% of the lead. So water pipes in older homes, you can observe in older homes the water pipes and as well as water systems also contains the lead solder, which may leach into the water supply, and further this lead will be exposed to the human beings by one or the other way, right? In this way also it will reach to the particular exposure of this lead compounds to the human beings, right, by using this water. If you're coming for the occupational exposure of this inorganic form of the lead, Pb2 plus, which can also occur through the welding processes, right? Welding processes. So this welding process in the manufacture of this lead, while manufacturing the lead containing batteries as well as lead smelting, and even you can make out in the refining and also in the production of pottery of the particular concern with respect to this exposure of this lead can also reach to the children's, which occurs primarily via the ingestion of this contaminated soil. Of course they are going to play with the soil that also will be contaminated with this lead, and it has been estimated that larger percentage of these adults and children in the United States have blood lead levels which are higher than the which are going to be higher than that which is considered to be the safe, right? So you can make out from this, so what this lead, it has been shown that various serious consequences because of this lead exposure to the human being, it has led to serious consequences on this nervous system, circulatory as well as skeletal system and renal, hematopoietic system and even endocrine system. So the lead poisoning is more common in case of children than the adults, and are going to be characterized by the neurological symptoms such as headache, convulsions, ataxia, learning disability or disorders, and hyperactive behavior of the children you can make out because of the more amount of high concentration or high level of this lead which is contaminated, which will be present in the soil, which will be exposed to the children's, especially the environment. So this exposure to the lead may also result in nephropathy, that is renal disorder, and adenocarcinoma, and as well as cardiovascular diseases and metabolic defects can be observed in case of bones. Metabolic defects can also be observed in case of the bones. Coming for the renal handling of this particular lead, how this renal that is kidney is going to handle this particular concentration of the lead. Despite this nephropathy, which is mainly caused by the exposure to the lead compounds, we can also see the mechanism by which the lead which is going to interact or enters the target cells in the kidney. That particular process which is going to happen is not well understood. But several mechanisms has been postulated in order to explain this transport of this lead into and out of the target cells. One such mechanism which you can see, endocytosis of the lead protein complexes, that is Pb2 plus protein complexes, which is going to serve as a route for the entry of this metal ions into the cells, that is heavy metal into the cells. Initially, this is particularly, we will see that what is the particular binding protein, that is lead binding protein, which was identified initially as 63 kilodalton protein. This is found in the cytosolic fraction of the kidneys. This particular protein, which was identified later as alpha 2 microglobulin, and further subsequent studies they have identified that diazepine binding inhibitor, which is going, and as well as thymosin, one more inhibitor, thymosin beta 4, as an additional protein binding, that is Pb2 plus binding proteins, which are going to be found in the kidneys. So they have found out that this particular thing by subsequent studies, and other numerous in vivo and in vitro studies they have made with respect to this heavy metal. They have described that interaction between this particular lead Pb and as well as calcium, which mainly suggests that Pb2 plus is going to utilize calcium ion channels, Ca2 plus channels, in order to gain the entry into the cells. And as well as additional studies also suggest that the absorption of this lead Pb2 plus is inversely proportional to the dietary levels of the calcium. So that is mainly inversely proportional to the dietary levels of calcium, which is an examination of this approximately, they have done an examination of approximately 3,000 children who are being exposed to this lead Pb2 plus, also revealed a relationship between dietary calcium Ca2 plus and blood levels of the lead. So that it appears to know that low dietary intake of this calcium can also lead to the higher levels of Pb2 plus in the blood. They have found that it appears that low dietary intake of the calcium can also lead to the higher levels of the lead Pb2 plus in the blood. So the reverse of this relationship, that is Pb2 plus and calcium ions, was also shown that higher intake of this calcium can also be associated with the lower blood levels of the Pb2 plus. So what we have seen in the last, the dietary relationship that was exposed to the lead, the children's, they have found that dietary calcium and the blood levels of the lead, it appears to be low, that is low dietary intake of the calcium can also leads to the high level of Pb2 plus in the blood. But the reverse of this relationship can also be seen, that higher intake of this calcium can also be associated with the low blood levels of the Pb2 plus. So owing to this interaction which was done between Pb2 plus and calcium, it also hypothesized that P plus enters cells, that is P plus which is going to enter the cells through one or more calcium ions Ca2 plus channels. Moreover, since the atomic radius of this lead, that is 1.81 angstrom, radius of this particular lead is going to be smaller than that of the calcium, that is 2.23 angstrom. Calcium radius will be 2.23 angstrom. So it is possible that the lead which is going to act as a that is, it is going to mimic of the calcium ions, that is Ca2 plus, at the site of the particular calcium transporters.